but we've heard about the farmers creating the farms and the hedges. We've heard this yesterday already. The farmers taking up what the big herbivores created in the prehistoric times. So they started, and the farmers started to copy it, copy the behavior, and so the hedges have lost their economic feasibility for the farmers, and now we are gaining this back, and we're going to look at this, and we're going to start with this wonderful word of fodder leaves, and we have someone here, Miss from Witzenhausen. He is doing research in a fodder leaves project to see what is good, what's his work. He's also in the DEFACH, the Agroforestry Association. So once again, Ms. von Berg, very happy to have you here, and open the doors for us to the politicians. This is your applause once again. Thank you. Coming back to the fodder leaves, you had been working in administration, that's important as well, but also you are a founder of the Triebwerk, which goes out into the landscape and reporting on how agroforestry can be done with hedges in the arable land, so very much very versatile. And one thing is your topic is the fodder leaves.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation and for allowing me to present this project here. FuLaWi is an acronym, and the name is Methods for Using and Preserving Fodder Leaves from Agroforestry Systems to Improve Nutrient Supply and Reduce Methane Emissions in Small Ruminants. So we're in agroforestry, we may have different areas of production for foodstuffs. So we maintain by utilization, and we're in a niche branch there, which is fodder production, which is much more advanced in other countries. In France, for instance, they're much further progressed, also in terms of research and the establishment of fodder in Germany is a niche topic. And if I speak of us who did that, it's not only Triebwerk but also Lignovis, the FBN, and the University of Göttingen. So we have consultancy aspects and research institutions that participate. The period of operation has been 2.5 years now, so we have a lot of results that we can refer to. The objective of this is sustainable nutrition for farm animals under climatic conditions. So it's a very complex topic which over the last few years has picked up speed because it's becoming ever more difficult to feed livestock when it gets drier and drier. So why fodder leaves? Well, it is something that has been practiced over centuries and millennia. There's a lot of results from scientific research, but it's not really widespread. Particularly ruminants have a genetic predisposition to have 30 to 40% of their daily nutrition based on leaves. That is actually appropriate for the species. Not the maximum that's possible, but that is what they should get. Grass feed is too uniform. There's a lack of calcium. Then we also have parasites, problems with parasites. And of course, you can do something about it if you change their feed. Then biodiversity, climate protection, all of this is integrated in utilization here, and that is where we started. And I brought along some results from 2.5 years worth of research. There's a lot more to be found on the internet. Just an overview here to give you a few take-home messages. First of all is the topic of ingredients. This is a list. A lot more was looked into. It's a list of 10 different species that were looked into, that were analyzed. When we looked at raw protein and fiber, because that is the fundamental characterization of foodstuffs. And as with all feeds, feed is not feed. For instance, if you look at raw protein, it's 100 grams per kilogram with ash all the way to 200 grams. So I can't just use any old fodder leaves and say it works. I have to take a look at more detail. In green, we've highlighted where you have the highest part of raw protein. So that's comparable to the good clover grass. The idea of fodder leaves is the feed for people who don't have the right pasture for their livestock. That is not quite sustainable, this claim. The same goes if you look at micronutrients. There are interesting nutrients that are included there. These are values from harvest in the late summer of 23. So you'd say high lignin content and low nutritional value. And we have to say, no, that's not true. There are species that can deliver high energy values in late summer too. And then the hedge as the pharmacy for animals. We were focusing on poplar and willow because we have a lot of experience with the use and the genetics of these woods, because it's all from energy producing woods. Let me just give an example here of selenium, which is oftentimes a deficiency element, and sheep, lactating sheep were, or lambs were fed. Sorry, lactating sheep were fed cardoon leaves, poplar leaves in the first weeks of lactation, and you can see the content of or the availability of selenium. Oh, it was just a little bit too fast here. Then over the first 5 weeks there was a decoupling, so that after 5 weeks we have a clear distinction in terms of selenium concentration in the bloodstream of the ewes. We were able to increase the selenium of content in the blood by 39%. So that doesn't necessarily mean that there is no deficiency anymore here. It depends on whether the general nutrition has enough selenium, but this is an increase of 39%, of up to 39%. We can also use it for climate protection because, of course, the branches sequester carbon, but also because it has an influence on methane emissions. So we measured how much methane the animals produce, and we could reduce the methane emissions by up to 15% by feeding fodder leaves. There's also other gases that might be analyzed, but we looked at methane. That's an interesting finding. We might also breed different variants of sheep that produce less methane. Now, we did that with fresh leaves, and if you want to do it throughout the year, then you have to engage in silage. So the question is, what happens with poplar and willow leaves? Can we use them for silage? And the same goes for other plant species as well. So we took two species, the beech and the balsam poplar, to see how did the pH value decrease. On the left hand we can see the control, and on the right hand side we could see the different ways of silage production, to see how do the different leaf species respond to this. And we can see beech worked pretty well. So 4.5, 4.2 should be the target. Then you have a stable silage. balsam poplar didn't work. So here again, you have to differentiate between different type of trees. But again, it showed that silage is an interesting way of preserving this. It doesn't work by just by just storing the leaves. And the result was that the willow responded very well to silage because it has a high protein content and has a high pH reduction. The balsam poplar didn't work too well in terms of pH reduction, but it has a very low fiber content. Now that sounds very well. How can we roll this out? In this case, it means, or in today's agriculture, it means mechanization. So the question is, what machinery can you use in order to have fresh fodder on the pasture, but also to be able to transfer it to the barn or maybe prepare it for preservation? Here you can see this where we tried it out in practice to cut this down and bundle it and take it to transfer for a different area or the barn. Here a prototype of a machine which is really designed for harvesting in tree nurseries with a big circular saw. On the right-hand side, we saw another prototype. I always underscore it's a prototype. Unfortunately, no serial machines that were also developed for tree nurseries where the annual species are taken and placed onto the trailer. And that, of course, annual plants increase the production per surface area. So we need specialized technology that we don't have available yet. And then the question is, how can I actually use that capacity so that it's worthwhile? We know calculation of machine utilization. We know from energy production we can invest about 500 to 900 euro per hectare, and it still makes sense. The yield of leaves, just the leaves, is somewhere between 1 to 5.5 tons, a huge range. But it's interesting, the 5.5 tons, which is all dry mass, when the green, in dry times when the grassland doesn't provide anything anymore, you still have this, and you have to consider that livestock will also eat some of the rind of the bark, not only the leaves. And I brought along some calculations, and it means that with 190 euro per ton, we could have a viable bale price. So that is quite interesting. And the whole thing is not only tested only in the laboratory and calculated in Excel sheets, but also we have practical areas, 9 locations across Germany, biological, organic, conventional, different scales. Everything is included. And 4.8 hectares of woodland were used. And you can see where they're distributed in Germany, also sometimes on slopes to ensure erosion protection. All of this worked very well. A total of 19,000 trees were planted, particularly poplar and willow, but some others as well. And here we can see some images. The planting was performed in May. In August, we were already at a height of 1.80 meters with a great laying maintenance situation. You can see open space. That's even difficult, even legally. So you can get these poplars to 2 meters, 53 meters in the first year. You can see they tend to grow beyond the reach of livestock. And at the beginning, they can actually access them. There was too little leaves available. The same goes with for goats. In the first year, the leaves are too far up. You have to lay them again in a different context. Again, we have the same word, so that the animals can access the leaves, and many species can take that and they can start regrowing. Nevertheless, I have to maintain it, otherwise it just grows up too fast, or the plants will wither at the end of the day. Just a very short introduction. This was, we have social media, we have websites with information leaflets. So I think the conclusion is quite positive. The transfer to practice is still a challenge because we have a lot of issues with technology, availability of areas, natural environmental legislation, etc. And that's why we have this project and many others who look into this, and then we can just get started, because our experience is that all these practical partners, they triggered a lot with their local authorities in order to make them aware of this topic. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What great research. Really great. Thank you very, very much. We should have questions and answers, but since we're late, we continue with the next presentation. So thank you very much. Off the stage, the next one is coming already. We will have time for questions and answers later on.